बोलिए वृंदावन बिहारी लाल की। Many years ago, a Pracharak Bhaiya was giving a lecture, and as he was giving the lecture, just all of a sudden he started to ask for water. Pani, pani, pani chahiye. So when Maharaji was told that that's what happened, Maharaji said, "Aaj pani manga hai, kal kahega peda de do, peda de do." So it's my way of letting you know that I'm nervous too. but I have my water here. When I was once in India, in Krishna Kunj, which was the original ashram in Delhi, in Punjabi Bagh. So I was with Sri Maharaji in his room, and Maharaji was watching his own lecture. And so at the end of the lecture, Sri Maharaji asked me, "Tum aisa bolti ho?" Do you speak like this? So I said, "Maharaji, aap keval aisa bolte ho." Maharaji कहते, "ये लो." So we'll continue the explanation of this divine pad. Yadapi mili nara tanu sura duralabha lagi bhal yah davare tadapi na tum sanhet karat man let na tumharo navare. How blessed we are to be in this human body is beyond our comprehension. Shri Maharaji says that if we can simply realize its value, that's all we need to do. If we can simply realize its value, it's enough to bring us to God realization. The preciousness of this life is such. It is described in the Shweta Shvataropanishad. Tamev viditvati mrityumeti nanyah pantha vidyate yanaya. That only by knowing Him can one cross it. There is no other way possible. So this is the literal meaning of this verse. It gives rise to three essential questions. Who is He who has to be known? Who is He who has to know Him? And what is it that has to be crossed? So God has to be known, the soul has to know God, and Maya, the cosmic ocean, has to be crossed. So now the meaning of this verse is that it is only by attaining the knowledge of God can an individual soul cross the boundless ocean of Maya. There is no other way possible. The next question that arises is, who can know God? Because the Vedas also tell us, Amritasya Vaiputraha. All the souls are children of God. So we are likely to assume that all the souls can know God. But it is not so. The Garud Puran tells us, Namanusham vinanyatra tattva jnanam tu labhyate. Only humans have been endowed with the great privilege of knowing God. And this is why the Vedas warn us. They caution us. What do they tell us? Iha che dad vedi dath satyamasti na chediha vedin mahati vinashtihi. Having received such a precious human birth, life, strive without any delay to reach your ultimate goal. And if you will not, there will be a consequence. And what will that be? Ihache dashagat bodhum prak sharirasya visrasaha tatah sargeshu lokeshu sharirattvaya kalpate. That we will be rotating in the endless cycle of life and death endlessly for an unimaginable length of time, because this human birth is not something that we receive, as Sri Maharaj has described in one of his pads, Naratanu Baram Bar Milat Nahi. It is not something that we're going to continue to receive if we are negligent and we renounce realizing how valuable and precious it is and what it could earn us. So the Vedas further tell us, Uttishthata Jagrata Prapyavaran Nibodhata. Utho Jago. Arise, awake, and seek the association of God-realized personalities and acquire divine knowledge. The Puranas tell us, the composer of the 18 Purans, Bhagavan Vedavyas, tells us through the Puranas, Durlabho manusho deho dehinam kshanabhanguraha. This human life is precious, and how precious it is evident from the fact that if we were to dig the ground only 1 foot deep, we will find thousands and thousands of tiny little souls, critters, in a 1 foot deep hole. In comparison, our life is so rare, it is so valuable. So further, in the Narad Puran, Vedavyasji tells us, Durlabham manusham deho prarthyate tridashairapi. Durlabham manusham janma prarthyate tridashairapi. All the living beings, they desire, they aspire for this human life. Why? Na manusha shreshthataram hi kinchit Mahabharata. Because there's no life superior to the human life. Which is why the Mahabharata further tells us, Janmantara sahasrestu manushyatvam hi durlabham. So after thousands and thousands and thousands of births, does anyone secure this life as a human? In the Bhagavatam, Vedavyasji has described, Nridehamadyam sulabham sudurlabham plavam sukalpam guru karnadharam mayanukule nanabhasvateritam puman bhavabdhim natarets atmaha. You have been provided the most competent vessel as this human body, this human life. It's propelled by the favorable wind of my grace and steered by an expert guide in the form of a guru. Despite being blessed with these 3 valuable gifts, if one fails to reach their goal, then one would be considered a true slayer of their very own soul. And this verse has been translated by Goswami Tulsidas Ji in the Ramayana. Naratanubhava varidhi kahu bero sanmukha marut anugraha mero karanadhar sadguru dridhanava duralabh saj sulabh kari pava. This human body is a veritable raft. And God's grace is the favorable wind, and a worthy preceptor is the helmsman to steer this mighty raft. Take it across the ocean of Maya. And though this combination is rather difficult to achieve, to attain, it has been made so easily available to us. This is what the scriptures say. Further, Goswamiji says in the Ramayana, Bade bhag manush tanu pava sura duralabha sadgranthani gava. This, as Sri Maharaji has described in this very line, that this human life is aspired for even by the celestial gods and goddesses whom we adore and worship, offer worship to. They desire this human life. They sing the glories of our great fortune to have received this human birth. Further, Goswami Tulsidas Ji says, Kabahuk kari karuna nar dehi det ish binu hetu sanehi. That rarely does God, who selflessly loves the souls, bestows this, a human life. That is what Goswamiji says in the Ramayana. And Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya has glorified the preciousness of this life in his own way. He tells us, Durlabham trayamevaitad daivanugrahakarakam manushyatvam mukshutvam mahapurusha sambhavah. Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya. He tells us that being born a human and to have inclination, hunger for God, and third, to have saintly association are the three most rarely attainable things in life. But out of these three, human birth is most important, because it is only after receiving a human birth can we have desire for God. Can we aspire for God and have saintly association? So, Adi Jagadguru Shankaracharya further says, Manuja dehamimam bhuvi durlabham samadhigam yasurai rapi vanchitam vishayalam patatam apahaya vai bhajatare manuja kamalapatim. So, Shankaracharya tells us that having received this precious human birth, stop chasing the world. Stop wasting your life in pursuit of mundane things, worldly things, and think about reaching your supreme goal while you have the opportunity. So the saints and scriptures alike, they glorify, they emphasize the importance of this human life, which leads us to believe there is something very special about our birth. Yes. What is it? So Bharatrihari gives us the answer. Ahar nidra bhayamaithunancha samanya metat pashubhir naranam. So he tells us that we as humans possess 4 attributes that other living beings, other living creatures also possess. Ahar, nidra, bhay, maithun. Ahar, we eat, they eat. And bhay, we fear, they fear. We sleep, they sleep. And as humans, we procreate, so do they. And yet, there's one attribute that sets us apart. And what is it? So here is a fable that will answer this very question. There was a cunning fox vexed about the glorification of man and his exalted position in God's creation. It thought within itself, is it that, am I in any way less intelligent than man? Or is it that he is less cunning than I am when it comes to cheating others? In fact, he is a living creature just as much as I am. But in my case, I am very contented. I'm very contented because I do not ask for or I do not wear costly clothing or jewelry every season. No. I do not ask for an umbrella to protect me from the rain. No. I do not wear or do not ask for dark glasses to protect me from the glare of the sun in the summer. Not at all. I quietly and patiently I endure heat and cold. I do not ask for a car or a train to go places. And while we animals, we possess these and many more noble qualities, why is it that man is exalted in God's creation? I am going to make sure that this injustice comes to an end. So this cunning fox, he incited other animals to join him. And he was able to gather them as well. And they all the animals, they went to a wise elephant. So the elephant said, my brothers, there's no doubt what you say is true. However, we should go to another forest dweller, a sage, living in some cottage in the forest to confirm his views. So everyone, all the animals, they accepted the proposal of the elephant and off they went to represent their case before the sage. So, "O sage," barked the dog, "if I am beaten, if someone hits me, beats me 1,000 times, but if they show a morsel of food, I am ever grateful to that person, and I sacrifice my entire life in their service. I am the symbol of gratitude. But man forgets 1,000 good deeds rendered to him, 1,000 services rendered to him, and remembers that one wrong that his friend might have done to him. Ignoring completely all the help received, he is willing and ready to murder his kith and kin, only for being wronged once. So, what makes man superior to the rest of us in God's creation, O sage?" And so this was the plea of the cow. "Man takes me to the pastures to graze. He gives me a little straw or husk. In return, I give my nourishing milk. And sometimes he starves my baby to feed himself and his children." That's what he does. "And I feed him and his family. But what does he do in return? He puts me in a foul, filthy, foul-smelling place at the backyard of his house. And the moment I run dry, I am ill-treated and ignored. And when I turn old, then I'm either driven out or sold to the butcher. So why is it that man is exalted sky high in this creation, O sage? O sage. Now it was the turn of the crow. So the crow said, even if a breadcrumb is thrown to me, I crow and call all my brothers and sisters because I like to share with them. But man, however much he has, he is still after hoarding more and more and more. And not only that, he goes out of his way to snatch the bread of his neighbor also. That's what he does. So what makes him superior? And the fish whispered, O sage, I shall not call man inferior to me, but I will surely call him downright foolish. I cause him no harm whatsoever, no harm at all. I, on the other hand, in fact, I clean tanks and ponds and lakes and rivers. I eat away whatever he dumps in them. I eat away. And instead of being grateful to such a good benefactor, instead he catches me and he kills me and he eats me. That's what he does. And the mule acknowledged what the fish said. Oh sage, I totally agree, the fish is right. Look at my pitiable plight. I am a beast of burden. I possess the divine quality of patience. That's what I do. I patiently tolerate insult and abuse. Without my services, those people up in the hills would not get their daily necessities. In fact, they would perish without my service. And what do I get in return? What is my reward? Beating and more beating. That's what I get. This is what the mule said. So, tell him everything. Oh, brothers, and tell him everything. Tell about your great attainments and your great qualities, chimed in the cunning fox. And the deer said to the sage, "Oh sage, the skin, the very skin that you sit on to meditate, did you know that it belongs to our kind? Can a human being's skin be put to any good use? Tell me. Can it be put to any good use? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. And in the matter of beauty, the most beautiful eyes of a damsel are often compared to mine. Compared to mine. But not a human's. No. And the peacock said, my feathers are so very charming. Even Sri Krishna wears them tucks them in his turban. They're so beautiful. And the dog asked that, does man have such a sense of smell that I have? Or does anyone for that matter? And the cat said, can anyone see with equal ease in broad daylight and even at night like I can? The elephant said, I have an enormous body, but there are innumerable stories of my intelligence. My tusk and bones are used to make images out of ivory, images and idols, etc. And even though my fellow brothers, whatever they're saying, oh sage, It is true. But please, there must be a reason, a wise reason for why man is exalted in God's creation. There has got to be a reason. Please enlighten us. What is that reason? So the sage then spoke that yes, there is a reason. And the reason is that man has been endowed with a power. And what is that power? It's the power of knowledge. Man has discrimination. He has the ability, God has given him the intrinsic capacity, power to distinguish between right and wrong, truth and untruth, righteousness and unrighteousness, good and evil. God has given him that power. Whereas the rest of you, you have instinct. You are governed by instincts. But man has discrimination. He has that knowledge, vivek as it's called. So we, as individuals, humans, we have been endowed with this great power called discrimination. We have knowledge. We have the ability to distinguish. That is what we have, that power. We have intelligence, intellect, buddhi. That is what we have. But at present, our buddhi is faulty. It needs fine-tuning. It needs refining. That's what it needs. And how do we know that our buddhi is faulty? Well, we don't need to be told, but I will share that also. It's very evident from how messed up our minds are. How our minds are. Many of us can be heard saying that my mind is so very restless. My mind is so restless. It is fickle like the wind. I'm not able to focus on my meditation. It doesn't even give me a moment's peace. I'm even having trouble sleeping at night. Yes. I'm even having trouble sleeping at night. I think I am developing insomnia. And I am feeling totally stressed and depressed and tense about it. I've been to so many psychiatrists for help, but to no avail. Where can I go? What can I do? All of this is too familiar, isn't it? So our very turbulent, fickle mind, as it is a very, very important machine. It's a very important machine. Now, it is in our hands to utilize this machine for our own success, for our own upliftment, or our own welfare, or we can let it run willfully, resulting in our failures. How many times have we heard Sri Maharaji say that our mind is our greatest friend and also our most destructive enemy? We hear that from Sri Maharaji's lotus lips, don't we? So when it's our greatest friend, it generates noble thoughts toward the divine, toward spirituality, and leading us to success and the attainment of unlimited divine happiness. But when the same mind reigns supreme as our enemy, then what happens? Our thoughts become destructive. And the same mind leads us to become obsessive about what? Obsessive about worldly pleasures and worldly things. the dire consequence of being continued tension, depression, melancholy, sorrow, etc. All of this is what our mind. So to haul out of this cycle, we need to surrender to a God-realized personality. That is what we need to do. We need to surrender to a God-realized personality. And while it is impossible to restrain the mind, as I just mentioned, we can restrain it with the guidance and the help of a God-realized personality. We only need to know the workings of the mind and why it is so restless. So the fickleness and the turbulent nature of the mind has been likened to a maddened monkey. A hysterical, crazy monkey. Now think about it, like a monkey by nature is fickle and restless, right? Very fidgety. Now if that same monkey was given wine to guzzle, imagine. And as if that's not enough, if the monkey was stung by a scorpion, what would be the condition of that monkey? So going from a maddened state to even a more aggravated, crazy, fickle state, and then even worse than that, being stung by a scorpion. And as if that's not enough, if the monkey was possessed by an evil spirit, what would be the condition of that poor monkey? What would happen? So Sri Maharaji, in explaining the nature of our mind, tells us that our mind is like that monkey and drunk on the wine of desires, endless desires. And not only that, stung by the scorpion of jealousy and always haunted by the innumerable impressions of our mind. So that is the condition of our mind. So how to control, how to restrain this monkey? In this unpredictable situation, there's only one solution: to seek the guidance of a perfect trainer, a worthy trainer who can control this uncontrollable mind of ours, this monkey mind of ours. And that trainer is none other than a God-realized personality, a God-realized saint. But we have to remember, as the scriptures describe, Pariksha lokan karmachitan brahmano nirveda maya nastya kritah kritena tadvijnanartham sagurumeva bhigachet samitpani shrotriyam brahmanishtham. So the Vedas describe the qualities of a God-realized personality. One who possesses complete knowledge of all the scriptures while also experiencing divinity. That is the true identity of a God-realized personality. We have to be careful that we seek the guidance of such a personality who is well-versed in scriptural knowledge and has also realized God. Yes, that is most important. Otherwise, a pseudo Baba or a miracle monger will lead us astray. And we will never be able to reach our goal. In fact, we will end up where he will end up. That is what will happen. So, it is important that we surrender to a God-realized personality, and in his guidance, we practice devotion and bhakti, and then we will be able to restrain our restless mind. So one may ask or wonder how one can find such a God-realized personality. An answer to this, an obvious answer rather, is that we cannot. We are not capable of finding a God-realized personality. And we do not need to worry about it either. Why? Because we have been found. We have been found. The hard work has been done for us. You are in the right place. You are in the shelter of a God-realized personality. You are. So you don't need to go looking for one. You just need to desire their association. That's all. And they will come to you, and they already have come to you. Such a personality has already come to you. Your presence in this very temple is evidence of that fact that you are in the shelter of such a divine personality. We all have received that grace. That grace. Once a devotee reached Masuri, and Sri Maharaji said to him, "Acha tum aa gaye? You are here now." So he said, "Maharaji, yes, I am here with your grace." So then Maharaji started talking to another devotee, and a little while later, Sri Maharaji again acknowledged him and greeted him. "Tum aa gaye?" So he said, "Yes, Maharaji, main aa gaya. I'm here with your grace." So then Maharaji asked him, "Do you understand what grace means? Do you know what grace really means?" So he humbly requested Sri Maharaji to explain the meaning of grace. So Sri Maharaji said that once Sri Krishna was going somewhere in deep thoughts of Sri Radha, and it so happened that he bumped into a tree and fell to the ground. And there was a puddle of water with critters in it. So Sri Krishna's hand landed in that puddle of water, and when he removed his hand, those critters were stuck to his hand. And when he looked at them, Sri Krishna thought that I will not put them back in this muck, in this filth, because now they have come in my hand. I will bestow a human birth, a human life on these souls. But bestowing a human birth isn't enough. I will come to them as their guide, as their divine guide, as their guru. So Sri Maharaji, in a loud voice, Sri Maharaji said, "All of you are those critters, those maggots, all of you." So how extremely blessed we are that we have been found by Sri Maharaji. If we just think for just 2 seconds. We just go into our heart and really feel, try to realize that grace that we have been blessed with. If we truly realize it, then tears would not stop streaming from our eyes. Just out of sheer joy and excitement, we would be so ecstatic. Me, an insignificant soul like I, and I was found by grace personified, that omnipresent grace of God personified, salvaged me, a soul, a fallen, downtrodden, wretched like myself. Words fall short. That's how blessed we are. But when we hear these words, maggots, some of us feel pinched. Maggot? I'm a maggot? No, you were. But now you have been given this beautiful human birth, so you're no longer a maggot, but just the thought of a maggot. But if it's coming from Sri Maharaji, how does it matter? It should be a matter of honor, right? We should feel flattered and ecstatic. That once actually, I want to share one of my experiences. Anything that comes from Sri Maharaji's lotus lips cannot be ordinary. It's very, very special. So once Sri Maharaji came to Jagadguru Dham, and that day just so happened that a bunch of us were Gujaratis. We were sitting there as Gujaratis, and so Maharaji said, "Aaj sabke sab Gujarati hi baithe hain." Most of you are Gujaratis, Maharaji said. And then Maharaji said in Hindi, of course, Maharaji said, "Sare Gujarati bewkoof hote hain." Maharaji said, all Gujaratis are silly. And so when I heard that, I was so happy that I got a title from Maharaji. He called me Bewakoof. So then later that day, I told Hansa Didi, who is Sri Maharaji's assistant, and I said, today Maharaji gave us a title, a name. And she said, "Did he say that we're Bewakoof?" And I said, "Yes." So to come from Sri Maharaji, it's such a special thing, like to be called anything, to be called any name. In fact, many years ago, Sri Maharaji's, one of his devotees was from New Zealand. She was a white devotee. Her name was Judith. And so she was taught, in Hindi, a phrase, कि मैं एक नंबर की गधी हूँ. So she was taught that, and she didn't know the meaning. But because it came from Maharaji, she was so delightfully going to the different devotees, because that's what she was told. Jaake kaho. So she was in her accent say, "मैं एक नंबर की गधी हूँ." But regardless, it's irrelevant what the meaning is. But the point is that it's coming from Sri Maharaji. So it is it's so flattering and it's so exciting and delightful that it's from him, and regardless of what it is. So the word maggot shouldn't pinch us. In fact, it should make us so happy that we're one of them. That we're one of them. So surrender to a saint is essential to restrain the mind. And what does surrender actually really mean? So this Upanishads tell us, Yasya deve para bhaktir yatha deve tatha guru, that we should worship our guru in the same way, with the same sentiments as we worship God. Exactly the same. No difference. So the sentiments that we have toward God, we should have those exact sentiments toward our Guru and worship him with the same exact bhav or affinity or affection in the same exact way. So faith toward our Guru really means to think favorably and always thinking favorably of him. Just like a wife is fully devoted to her husband. So suppose a wife is having her meal and her husband comes and adds ghee in her food. So she's eating happily. A little while later, he comes and adds garbage to her food. And she's happy just as she was when he added ghee. Now, do you think that there is such a woman in existence? Absolutely not. So what does that mean? No woman is devoted to her husband 100%. No. Because the vow of fidelity to Mother, Father, Guru, God really means that we align our desires with theirs. We do not apply our intellect in their actions whatsoever. And we always think favorably of them. This is what constitutes surrender. That's what surrender really is. But if we don't think favorably of our Guru or follow his or heed his teachings and his instructions and his disciplines, we don't take them to heart, and instead we apply our own intellect. You see, because saying that I am surrendered is different than actually putting it into practice. Actually living those principles is a different reality. There are two different realities. To say, oh, I am devoted to Sri Maharaj and I'm Sri Maharaj's Satsangi. But then we willfully do everything, and then we become careless and negligent, and we do not follow Sri Maharaj's instructions and his agya. That is not surrender. That is pride. It's our vanity. It's our ego. We're surrendered to our own ego, not humbly surrendered to the lotus feet of our Guru. Once Nityananda Das was absorbed in the love of God when a Baba approached him and told him that at midnight tonight your Guru is going to leave. He's going to disappear and he has asked for you to come and see him. So Nityananda Das thought it was just the act of Maya to distract him from experiencing the love of God, and so he did not pay heed. He ignored the divine instructions of his Guru. And that same night, at midnight, the devotional feelings of Leelas, of God's Leelas, and the name of Shri Krishna ceased. And his heart was overcome with darkness. It was overcome with darkness. So, bewildered, Nityananda Das, he went to his Guru's ashram, and there he found that his Guru had in fact left, had in fact disappeared. So he was struck with an extreme feeling of distress, and his heart began to burn in the fire of grief. Because at that point he realized his mistake. And so he requested the explanation of the older Mahatmas there. And they told him that even if a devotee has attained height in his devotion, but if he ignores the instructions of his Guru and abandons the lotus feet of his Guru, then such a consequence is inevitable. It is bound to happen. So the point here is that surrender means to follow the agya, the instructions of our Guru, and that is the highest seva. We always talk about seva, seva, seva. Seva is not a physical act. Seva is a commitment. It is a commitment of our heart, of our mind. We have to submit our heart and mind at the lotus feet of our Guru and make and vow to follow his agya. That is true seva. Because everything we do physically is just physical work. But unless we are motivated by that affinity, with that, motivated with those sentiments, if we have that commitment from within, unless we have that, it's just mere work. And work is not seva. Seva includes dedication and surrender to our Guru first. And then we engage in anything physical, or whether it's monetary, or even mentally, internally when we do sadhana. That is true seva. So, in this line, Shri Maharaji has Tadapina tum sanahet karat man ledana tumhoro navare. That even though I have received this precious human birth, O Shri Krishna, I have been blessed with the greatest Guru, and I have all those gifts to practice devotion, to love you, to have affinity for you, and yet I don't love you. I don't sing your divine name. I am constantly finding myself indulging in the world and looking for sensual gratification instead, despite this great privilege I have. O Shri Krishna. Naratanu paya, Guru paya, paake gamaya radhe, Govind, Govind radhe. Naratanu paya, Guru paya, paake gamaya radhe, Govind, Govind radhe. Naratanu paya, I received this human birth. Guru paya, I received the ultimate association, the epitome of grace it's at my disposal. I have that great gift, and yet I have lost everything due to my own ignorance, negligence, my carelessness. Oh Shri Krishna, please listen to me, listen to my humble call. So 2 more lines are remaining. I will explain them over the next 2 days. Shrimat Sadguru Sarkar ki, Ladli Lal ki, Jai Jai Shri, Jai Jai Shri Radhe, Jai Jai Shri Radhe.